Welcome to Growing Together, a Healthy Beginnings podcast, a space created to support families through pregnancy, birth, and early parenting with care, compassion, and community. Whether you're expecting a baby, caring for a newborn, supporting a loved one, or working with families, you are in the right place. Join us for conversations with experts, facilitators, and parents as we explore perinatal nutrition, mental health, parenting, community building, and the resources that help families thrive. Whatever you're listening from, you belong here. Let's get started. I am your host, Tania Borja, Healthy Beginnings Senior Coordinator here at the Stop Community Food Center. And today I am joined by my colleague, Marial Addario. She is the Senior Coordinator for the Community Advocacy Program at the Stop as well. Welcome, Mariel.
Hi, thank you so much, Tania.
Just for a little context for our listeners, Mariel, she is the Senior Coordinator at the Community Advocacy Program here at the Stop. She also holds a Bachelor of Social Work from York University, and she is passionate about empowering people to recognize their inherent skills and value in this life. Through the advocacy program, Mariel assists community members to challenge chronic income and food insecurity by building stronger support networks, raising political consciousness, and taking direct action. As you may know, the Stop Community Food Center has different community building programs, such as Healthy Beginnings and the Advocacy Program. And today we're going to be talking about how to create these connections in the community and how to really have that those skills of becoming your own advocate as a mother, as a father, as a caregiver, and just getting to that power and personal strength. Mariel, would you like to maybe share a little bit more about what your role is at the Stop? What do you do in a daily basis at the Stop at the Community Advocacy Program?
Yes, thank you so much, Tania. So at the Community Advocacy Program, we support our community members in more of a drop-in style. And then we also do some one-on-one supports when issues are a little bit more complex with our community members. But mainly what we're there is to support them in helping navigate the social service system. So whether that looks like explaining how the system works, helping them with referrals, helping them understand forms and processes, we're just there to provide education, information, and support. The other big piece of the program that we do is we do run a class called Become Your Own Advocate, which is all about helping sort of empower our community and teaching community members about their strength and how to kind of harness all of their lived experience into something that can help embolden them to take charge of their life and, make sure that they are getting all of their needs met. So that is a 10-week course. We tend to run it twice a year, and we're always welcoming people to sign up for it.
Yes, definitely. I heard it's an amazing course. I heard people really take away a lot of great information and insights and inspiration to really feel more empowered and confident about their own advocating skills. And I, as a mother as well, I understand how crucial it is to be able to develop and improve those self-advocating skills in order to ensure that your family and yourself as individual get the information, the resources, the services that we really need in a way that is beneficial and appropriate for each person. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited. We decided to talk about how parents can become more of an advocate for themselves and how can they maybe overcome perhaps a sense of shyness or how self-doubt. How can I do this on my own? How can I really be that strong advocate to get what I need and my family needs. So thank you so much. I'm really excited, Mariel, to talk to you today. And according to your expertise and experience working with so many fellow community members as a senior coordinator, what does being your own advocate means to you, especially in the context of parenting or motherhood?
Yes, really great question. So, to me, being your own advocate means understanding that you have inherent worth and also being able to speak up for what you need and what you are entitled to as a human being. For parents in particular, for me, it really comes also with a level of trust of yourself and trusting your relationship with your kid, so that when you and your child sort of encounter harder things that you have to navigate, that you know that like this comes from a place of trust with your child, and that you are navigating it because you know that that's what you need and that's what your child needs, and just understanding that again, both you and your child are entitled to, basic respect and all of that.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And why do you think advocacy is especially important during pregnancy, postpartum, and the early parenting?
Yes, this is a really great question. Advocacy is so important during pregnancy, because every pregnancy is different, and even for the same person, every pregnancy can be vastly different. I'm sure you can relate to that. So the kind of unfortunate thing is that we know that a lot of healthcare research is not really done on pregnant people, on women, and especially on racialized women. So there are like those demographics are understudied, unfortunately. So that to me, advocacy is so important during pregnancy, and when you're building your care plans, because we don't really know how much is evidence based, given that there are so many gaps in research for pregnant people, and again, especially racialized women. So advocacy during your pregnancy and with your health team and with your family, for me, is really really important.
Absolutely. Yeah, and especially that I've heard that many women that I serve come to me and say, sometimes I feel like I can't really talk to my care provider. I go there, I have an appointment, they don't ask me anything, they don't get to know me, they don't really create that connection that is fundamental when you're caring for someone who is, carrying a baby. And there's a lot of frustration and a lot of a great sense of dismissal. They feel dismissed. They feel that they are not being heard, and they don't have that capacity to, or not capacity, but rather opportunity to really speak out and say what they need, how they really feel. So it is really important to somehow tap into that strength and sense of personal power in order to be able to talk to these care providers and really get the help you need. Um, Mariel, was there a moment in your work or personal experience that show how powerful self-advocacy can be for families?
Oh, for sure. There's quite a few, but I'll say some of the more poignant ones for me. And I've helped a few families and some mothers in trying to navigate, especially getting accommodations for their kids in schools. I know that can be really difficult. It can sometimes come with a lot of having to get reports done for your child. But I have assisted some families in going that route because their child was struggling, and it was clear that they needed extra supports, and they just had not ever had the opportunity to explore that route. And seeing that come to fruition and having them say, like, I can see a difference in my child now that they are being treated adequately and like equitably by their school. um that to me is really powerful. And it also shows that like I completely understand, talking to institutions like schools, like hospitals can be a very intimidating and overwhelming
Yes,
experience, because these are very respected institutions. But those examples really showed me that like they're they also can be changed, right? The rules can be changed, the rules can be challenged. And if you are finding that they are implementing things that are unequitable or unfair, it really is worth challenging that.
absolutely. I totally agree with that. I also think a lot about parents who have language barriers that
Mhm.
even though they have perhaps the fire within them to speak up and advocate for themselves, sometimes not speaking the language, it really, you know, diminishes your sense of confidence and
Yeah.
you don't know how to really tackle that task that becomes really hard
Mhm.
when it comes to getting your message across in a different language. So I think it is really important for parents to not feel discouraged to if they are not familiar with the language, they don't speak the language, still they can seek help through community advocacy programs such as the Stop or other programs in other community centers to help them perhaps create a letter, draft a letter,
Yes.
or having a draft a script or something that they can confidently come and perhaps read or hand out to those schools or the healthcare providers in order for them to really obtain the help and the services they need.
Yes. Yes.
As we were talking about how sometimes mothers or parents feel really, really dismissed or unheard by institutions or doctors, why do you think this happens so often?
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons. And I just, I want to validate to any parent that's felt that way. First of all, I'm very sorry that that was your experience, but also it's not personal. I'll just say that the medical model like has come a very long way. However, it is still a space where there can still be this very rigid dichotomy of an expert versus like a patient, in
Hmm.
which the expert's knowledge, so the nurse, the doctor, their knowledge is considered more valuable and more valid than a patient's lived experience. And
Exactly.
it's changed quite a lot, which is great, but it's still far from perfect. And we still definitely see how that plays out. And I think a lot of the times when parents feel dismissed, it's because their lived experience, right? If they're saying, well, this is what happens to my child when we go home, I'm not sure, like, and the doctor says, well, our tests don't show anything. So, that's the end all be all, right?
Hmm.
It lives in this space of the expert is more valid than a parent's lived experience. So I think a lot of the times that's what happens, which is really unfortunate because lived experience is valid and has its own set of expertise, which should not be ignored. It should be collaborated with is the goal.
Absolutely, absolutely. Totally agree. And I'm really curious about what could be what are some ways in which parents can prepare themselves before appointments, either with the school or doctor or other service providers, in order for them to feel more confident when asking questions or conveying their concerns.
Yes, I think this is a really great question because there are like tangible skills and advocacy skills you can do when going into meetings like this. And this is a great opportunity and time to like practice those. So one of the big things that I encourage people to do, especially when they're going to doctors, but when they're going to any appointments, is to write down a list of all the questions they have. It's completely normal. It happens to me. It happens to everyone. You get into the doctor's office and then everything that you wanted to ask just flies away.
Yes.
And you get overwhelmed. So write things down and come with a list that you can go over and reference to make sure that you're touching everything that you wanted to touch on. That's huge. The other thing too is, if you're dealing with a situation that you might know somebody else who has dealt with a similar situation in your community, I always encourage people to reach out and talk to each other, because you can really learn a lot about, like, well, what was your experience with dealing with this issue? And, build your kind of information base that way as well. So when you go to your doctors, you have other examples to kind of pull from. I think is very important. Like, it's very rarely the case that you're dealing with an issue that has never been dealt with before.
Yes.
Usually there is some sort of pathway or an example you can look at that's happened in the past that you can try to pull from. And lastly, one of the things that I always want to say is, schools and hospitals have like a client rights. They're called patient rights. And so I always just encourage people to, if you're feeling nervous about going to your hospital, your doctors, your clinic, it's usually posted on their website, to go and read your rights that you have as a patient. And usually there will be things in there like the right to have things explained to you so that you understand what's happening. And I just find that it can help people, it can help lessen that anxiety of like, oh, is it just me here trying to talk to these doctors? Like, there are rights, there are rules and policies that hospitals and doctors have to abide by. And so it's not a case where you're just like in limbo. Like, there is a structure. You are inherently, like, you should not be feeling dismissed.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm going to go on a limb here with you, Mariel, and I'm going to ask you, what would be some simple phrases or approaches they can use when talking to service providers so they can be taken seriously?
Yes, this is a really great one. And I do a lot of like role playing with this with our community members, because number one, I just want to say it's very hard. It can feel very scary to speak up, and half the battle is just getting the words out of your mouth. So if you're
Yes.
feeling nervous at all, completely normal. Completely normal. So some of phrases that I always tell people to say is like, if you don't understand something, let them know. Like, you can always say to somebody, to your nurse, to your doctor, hey, I didn't quite understand that. Can you explain it to me again? And they should have no problem explaining that to you again. I'm very aware that not everybody has the same, comes in with the same level of knowledge, with the same language skills. So when I'm explaining something to somebody, I'm always checking in, like, do you understand what I mean when I say X? Unfortunately, maybe doctors aren't the best at that, but I always say that, like, if you feel like you don't understand something, try not to engage in the thought of like, well, that's because I'm the uneducated one. No, that doctor then should educate you then on what that means. That's part of their role as a
Exactly.
doctor. So
Hmm.
again, can you explain that to me again, is a huge one. And the other thing too is, if you feel like you still have concerns that haven't been addressed and things are moving ahead, and you're not feeling good about that, I always just say, like, again, to state it and say something like, I still have concerns. Can we talk further before moving forward? There should be no situation in which you ever feel pressured to do something in a medical setting, whether it's a procedure, a medication, a type of treatment. If you don't feel comfortable for whatever reason, you can put a pause on it and always just say, I want to talk further before we move forward with any decision. Like, that is completely valid. um Beyond that, if you find that you are doing these things and you're just still not being heard, you're still being dismissed, and you just feel like these people are not taking you seriously, um, at that point, there are other bodies that oversee hospitals and doctors that regulate them. So, there is like the body that oversees and regulates nurses, doctors. There are patient advocacy groups for hospitals. There is a patient ombudsman specifically that is there to support people that have concerns about hospitals anywhere in Ontario. So again, this never just ends at hospital level. If you really, really feel like this is negligent and really not, they're not taking you seriously, you can always escalate that. And that's again where programs like myself, our advocacy, like community and other advocacy programs, you can reach out to them and they would be more than happy to explain kind of the higher level next steps.
Yes, definitely. So it is really, really important, as you mentioned, not to be afraid of asking for clarification. Always. That's a word that has in the recent years for me become a mantra because
Yes.
sometimes we are afraid when we are faced in a difficult situation that we have to make decisions, important decisions. Sometimes we don't really have all the information that we need to do so. So asking for clarification, asking for more information in order to make an informed decision is a right, and
Yes.
no one is going to look down on you because of that, or is going to deny it. Hopefully not, but it is a right to have all the information you need in order to make specific important decisions, especially when it comes to, for instance, a diagnosis that requires specific medication,
Yeah.
either for yourself or for your kids, for anyone in your family. So very important. Don't be afraid to ask clarification, and to get more information, even if that means that they have to do more work, get
Yes.
more assessments done, or some more research, whatever it is. But we need to really understand that we have that right. And when it comes to important decisions, nothing really needs to be in the way of having what you need to make that decision. And here when it's where it comes, the gut instinct and the intuition that comes with being a parent. Sometimes you know that something needs to to go on a certain way, or you need more information in order to feel clear and confident about what you're doing. So always trusting that as well. What do you think about that, gut instinct that comes with making these
Yeah.
types of decisions?
Yes. I think that's huge. I think it's really huge. And that sort of that's exactly kind of what I was saying in that first question of like part of being a parent in advocacy is trusting that relationship that you have with your kid. So is trusting that gut feeling, right? And
Yeah,
knowing that, you know, I am their parent and your lived experience that you have with this child um, is completely valid, and you should take that seriously, and it should be taken seriously by your healthcare team. Yeah.
definitely, definitely. Let's change gears a little bit, and let's talk about mental health.
Yes.
Why do you think advocating for emotional well-being is just as important as advocating for physical health?
Oh, this is such a good question, because I am such an advocate for mental health care in the world. And so the first thing that I always like to say about this is there's this sort of myth, I think, that mental health is separate from physical health. And it's not true, right? Our brain lives in our bodies. It functions the same way as our heart, our lungs, in that these two things have a relationship with each other. So by taking care of our mental health, that can also help us take care of our physical health, and vice versa. Taking care of our physical health is instrumental in making sure that we have good mental health as well. Um, But I think one of the big things for parents is that parenting is really hard. I'm sure you know this.
Yes.
Parenting is really hard and it's non-linear. There are great days, there are bad days. It's just like anything else. And parents are humans. And so we can't expect them, and more importantly, they can't expect themselves to
Hmm.
always be in a great space. And that's okay. That really is, because they are people. And so they, parents, hey, you're going to have bad days and that's okay. Um, However, what is really important about taking care of the mental health is that um, when parents are able to understand sort of like the importance of it, it just means that um, we hope that it means that they can help kind of navigate those harder times and those worst days a little bit easier. That's sort of the goal of having good mental health. It's not to say that we're going to eliminate all the bad times.
Hmm.
It's just
Hmm.
to say that we will have more capacity to endure those bad times, um, because because we know that that's also not the end all and be all either. So that's why for me parenting is very important. For kids it's really important because um, we want to teach them, we want to give them a good relationship with their emotions, and we want to teach them good emotional regulation skills. Right? Those are skills, and those are
Yes.
really necessary skills that they are going to take with them through their entire life. So, our goal is that we set them up as children to honor their feelings, to understand their feelings, which we hope will then help them as they go on in life um, to navigate their mental health in a healthy way. So that to me is why mental health is so important.
Absolutely. And I am so like 100% with you. I am all about holistic perspectives
Mhm. Yes.
in terms of life and the self and everything. So completely agree that we're not separated. Our body, our mind, our emotions, the spirit, everything is one unit. And sometimes we are under the impression that there's this separation
Mhm.
idea. And so it's really important to remember that when we come back to ourselves and we have these understanding that everything about us is important, then we're able to provide that the value that it really has, not only
Mhm.
to physical symptoms, but also our emotional health, our emotional well-being, our mental health, and even that spiritual connection that we may be fostering, whatever that looks for everybody. So just remember that there is that integration that's important to cultivate as well.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that's why it's so important, the role of community, the role of really finding a network or being part of a support network where these topics can be discussed and openly brought about. Because sometimes when you hear somebody else or you provide an opinion about something, also will allow other parents, other families to give themselves to allow the permission of speaking as well and sharing and opening to these ideas.
Yes. Yes.
And so definitely parenting comes with many opinions, either from family members, from social media, from the society in general. So advocating for oneself and your children's needs and keeping, holding your ground at the same time, it really requires a lot of strength and conscious effort. So what do you think, Marielle, would be some tips for parents to stay grounded, to be assertive, and not settle for less when seeking support?
Yeah. So one thing that I say is if you're in a position to have some sort of like professional support, whether that's through like a community group or through a therapist or a social worker, um, I'm always a big advocate for that. I think that's great, because it lets you have a space that you can check in with somebody who you trust. Um, that doesn't just have to be a therapist, though. If you have a family member or a friend or somebody in your life who knows you well, whose judgment you really trust, it can also be a community. Um, really, really sit with those people and make space to connect with them while you're going through sort of whatever advocacy type thing you're doing, because you're right, parenting is really hard, and especially when you're when you're doing something, maybe you're challenging a system or something that, and it's your first time, and it can feel very disorienting. It can be really easy for that self-doubt to start to creep in. And so again, that whole staying grounded piece, if there are people you can lean back on and say, hey, like, is it just me? Usually then that person can then say, no, you're just going through a really difficult time, but like
Yes.
you're okay. It's
Hmm.
happening. You're still yourself. You're just navigating a new situation, which can feel very scary. So yeah, I always say, um, have those people in your life that you can check in with and just sort of do those like grounding checks, because those are so important while you navigate parenthood, because yeah, it's a whole list of opinions and expertise, and like conflicting expertise information, right? It feels like every decade there's a new parenting book on, actually
Yes.
we found out the new way,
Yes,
so
yes.
like, even, it's okay, everyone's confused, we're all still learning, but stay grounded, have those people that know your values, and check in with them when you need to.
Absolutely. Also, little practices that can help parents really building their confidence and their advocating skills are very important. And I'm thinking like taking a little bit of time for yourself. I know being a parent, really, this is not necessarily a reality for everybody, but just like a 5 minute breathing,
Yeah.
by yourself, just maybe opening the window if you don't have the opportunity to step out for a minute, opening the window and just like, like taking that time to breathe, to really feel your body and having that connection again, that holistic connection with your mind, your body, and how, and really asking yourself how you feel and how you can soothe yourself at that time is really important. Keeping hydrated and really finding a way to perhaps uh, get a favorite snack or a favorite treat just to, get that soothing effect going, because it is really difficult, especially when you have a family that has many needs, multiple family members with multiple needs. It can get a lot
Yeah.
really fast. So yeah, what message would you give mothers who constantly doubt themselves or feel that they're not enough in order to be their own advocates?
Yes. So, one of the big things with motherhood is there is a tremendous amount of pressure on mothers from society. And I often see how that gets kind of internalized in mothers, so that there is this kind of like, I'm not doing enough, through line that, when you're not having a good day, can become really, really a really strong voice in your head. And so, number one, I want to reiterate that mothers are humans, parents are humans, you are all people. um, and so you are going to go through the people experience of great days, bad days, good years, harder years, successes, hardships, all of those things. And so one of the things that I always want to remind mothers who feel that is that you don't have to be perfect to be a kind, supportive, loving mother. And you don't always have to be put together to create a great, loving, healthy space for your kids. I think it's kind of this like common trope of the mom trying to like clean up the house and all of that stuff. It's okay. It's okay for your kitchen sink to be dirty. It's okay for the laundry to not have been done that day. If all you did was get your kids up, and when I say all, I don't mean like if you got your kids up, you got them out the door, you fed them breakfast, lunch, dinner, and got them into bed, that is a success in my book. And if that's what you did, that's great. And so, I just really want to kind of reiterate that you as a mom are allowed to have the days when you don't want to when you don't want to cook, when you don't want to do the laundry. You're allowed to have those days, and it doesn't mean that you are not being a good mom. So that's kind of always what I say to mothers who constantly feel like that is, if you are finding that this is like a recurring thought, please do reach out to a professional, because like it's not true. You are doing enough. And so, again, if this is like a really big recurring thought, do reach out to a professional. But also what I find is that if you are somebody that easily like slips into that kind of thinking, making a list of things that you did that day and just taking a look at it. And that can even just help you balance out that thought, just listing the things that you did do. And you'll probably find that you actually did quite a lot. So that's sort of like my message to mothers is, those not perfect moments are how you show your kids that you're a human. And then it shows them that there is grace for those times, and there is space for those bad days or those not perfect days.
Exactly. That's beautiful, Mariel. Thank you for saying that. It reminded me of my own experience. Sometimes when I finish cooking and cleaning the kitchen at night, I'm like, "Ah, another dinner served." And it's like this, it feels like I won a battle,
Yeah,
after a long
yeah,
day
yeah,
and having to cook and to clean and to serve, it feels just like another one battle, and it really is a big achievement. It feels
mhm,
like it's a big achievement, so
yes,
it's really important for moms to um to take that to take credit on everything
yes,
they do. I also wanted to share, in terms of being an advocate, your own advocate as a mother. I This is a personal experience. My kids and I went through a really difficult time a couple years ago, in which we were um, involved in an accident, and these resulted in a long process in which I had to be dealing with lawyers and professionals, like healthcare professionals and all of that. And it was, at first, it was really overwhelming emotionally and everything.
yeah,
But then I realized that how the system sometimes really is set up, you really need to find that strength in you and ask for what you need. And that sometimes we don't do what we want to do because we don't want to be labeled
yeah,
as an annoying person, or someone who is always asking for something. But when it comes to getting what you need, getting your needs met, your children's needs met, it really doesn't matter if they think you're annoying or otherwise,
yes,
because if you have that opportunity to really request what your right is, what is that you think should be done in order for you to get the benefits and the care and the services you deserve, please do it. Please do it, because especially us as women, we have this horrible stigma that we need to be,
yeah,
quiet and very nice and agreeable and all of that. but sometimes that doesn't really serve us when it comes to advocating for your physical, mental, emotional health or your family. And yes, sometimes I have to, been sending all these emails, and I've been like sending one after the other, and I have thought these people are gonna hate me because I'm just I'm just in their faces. But sometimes that's what you need to do. Like
Yeah.
you need to be in their
Yeah.
faces in order for them to take you seriously, because otherwise you become a number and you become
Yeah.
an statistic. And we don't want that when it comes to really living a healthy and you know rich life, fulfilled
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
Just to wrap up, Mariel, this has been so informative, so insightful. Really, really enjoyed talking to you about this, and just how what do you think we can teach the children? How we can teach the children the importance of advocating for themselves as well, following the example of the parents.
Yeah. So definitely by doing, when we choose to stand up for ourselves, when we choose to um, question um, question institutions, question rules that we don't think are equitable. Um, we show our kids that um, like they learn that as a value. They will then learn from their parents that like, oh, it's important that I advocate for myself. It will teach them that they have inherent value, and it will teach them that they have the agency um, to assert their rights, to say like, hey, I am a human, I have worth, I am allowed to ask for these things because I am owed these things as a human here. So to me it really is teaching them the importance, like by doing, and telling them why, and impressing to them the importance, like that it is really important to take these things seriously, to take yourself seriously, because that's just how we will impress upon them that they can do this too. So that's how I think parents can do it. And I will just also say, like, I have seen it in the advocacy office as well. I've had multiple parents come in, they're dealing with really hard things, really difficult
Yes.
things, and we go through it, and sometimes their kids are there, and they can see, like, kids are very observant, and I can tell, like, they can see, okay, like, we're coming back here because my mom needs help filling out these forms to give to a lawyer. Like, that's teaching your child that, number one, help exists, and number two, you can
Yes.
ask for it. That's
Yes.
huge. That's huge. So again, teaching by doing, um, is is the best way that you can do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mariel. And just to recap, if you were to give three tips today for the parents or our listeners to take away on how to become your own advocate, what would those be?
Oh, three tips on how to become your own advocate. That is a great question. So, um, number one, I would say never stop asking questions. Again, going back to that, like, can you explain that clarification piece? Never stop asking questions, and never be afraid to stop asking questions. Number two would be, um, when you're entering new spaces, try to know, like, the policies and stuff, whether it's schools, a hospital, a clinic, a medical professional that you're starting to see, you know, ask them about policies, like, understand sort of where you fit into that entire space. Because the other thing too is, like, maybe their policies are really bad, and that's like a red flag that you don't want to engage with that
Exactly.
professional, right? And number three is to try to cultivate, like, a nice relationship with yourself. however that looks to you, whether it's through psychotherapy, whether it's through cultural means that you have, whether it's through community building, whether it's taking just time for yourself to go sit outside, but build in those moments of having some time for yourself and checking in with yourself, because staying grounded while we're navigating difficult things is going to be part of what helps us get through those difficult times. So those would be my 3 tips.
Those are amazing, amazing. And yes, definitely becoming our own advocates does require work, does require
Yes.
personal work. However, this is one of the most important kind of personal work we could do as well, because not only that will allow us to be more resilient, but also to teach our children how to be more resilient and
Yeah.
not settling for less. But also, unfortunately, as immigrants, we kind of need to, be very
Yeah.
resilient and really not being afraid to express ourselves and to let our voices being heard and asking for help when it's needed, because it's there. So
Yes.
thank you, Mariel. Thank you so much for being with us today. And would you like to perhaps let us know a little bit more about what's coming up for the Community Advocacy Program in the near future?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tania. Thank you for having me on. This was such a great discussion. If anybody listening to this wants to check in, follow up with anything, you're always welcome to come by the advocacy office or send me an email. I'm more than happy to chat about anything. Or if you're struggling with something in particular, I'm very happy to chat about that. What we have coming up for the advocacy program is we will be running another session of our Be Your Own Advocate teaching course in the fall. So again, that's a 10-week course. We'll be going over advocacy skills. We'll be going over kind of what we did in this discussion, but in a longer, more tangible way. So if that's at all interesting to you, again, please reach out to me, and then I'm more than happy to make sure that you're put on the list for when we start getting participants for that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Please do reach out to Mariel. You can also reach out to me, and you can also visit the Stop's webpage, which is thestop.org, and you will find all the information there about what the Stop does, all the community building programs, all the emergency programs, and the urban agriculture programs as well. If you enjoy this conversation, please share it with other people in your community that you think might enjoy it. If you are pregnant or know someone who is pregnant and live within our catchment area, which are west to east, James Street to Young Street, and north to south from Eglinton Avenue to Bloor Street, please do contact me. I'll be really happy to provide you with more information and a registration appointment. We are located at 1884 Davenport Road. Healthy Beginnings is a program that happens on Wednesdays, and we are open for registration. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Healthy Beginnings podcast, and we will see you next time. Until then, take care. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Growing Together, a Healthy Beginnings podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with someone who may benefit and help us spread support and connection to more families. You can learn more about Healthy Beginnings, upcoming programs, and community resources through the STOP website and social media channels. New episodes coming soon from your Healthy Beginnings team. And remember, no one has to navigate pregnancy and early parenting alone. Whatever you're listening from, you belong here. Healthy Beginnings is here with you every step of the way. Until next time, take care.